friends. This is Donovan Fredrickson with Texas Mental Health Resources, and you're in for a real treat today on A Mental Moment. U.S. teenagers are in a real mental health crisis. I was reading a study on teen mental health that was conducted by Global Youth Culture in 2020, actually only weeks before the onset of the pandemic, and the student responses were alarming. Listen to this. 60% reported experiencing depression. 66% reported high anxiety. 75% reported feelings of loneliness. And 35% reported having had suicidal thoughts. And I know you're certainly aware of the devastating effect that the pandemic has had on mental wellness for the entire population. So these numbers just continue to rise. As we kick off our new A Mental Moment podcast, I couldn't think of a better topic to start with than teen mental health. And before I forget to mention it, be sure to click follow or subscribe right now to hear about new episodes as they're released. Today, we're privileged to have in the studio with us three young ladies who are high school students in Frisco, Texas. Let's welcome today Sadiksha, Meghana, and Ria. Thanks for taking time to visit with us. So before we jump into our discussion, those of you who are listening need to make sure to hang on to the end of our visit today because we're going to be making a very exciting announcement that involves these three young ladies and the work of Texas Mental Health Resources. You're not going to want to miss that. So let's go ahead and start talking for a few minutes. You guys are right there in the middle of students, day in, day out. So I know that you've encountered firsthand exactly what we were talking about today. What mental health needs or issues have you seen personally at your high school or among your friends?
Throughout school, like among our peers especially, I've seen several occurrences of anxiety, depression, stress levels, and sleep deprivation. And all these issues stem from the fact that school and there's the societal pressures placed upon us, academic pressures, pressures from our parents, friendships and relationships in high school. And all of those play a huge part in the many different mental health disorders that teens face every day.
I agree. Like I've personally seen it through like my peers, like how like she was saying, how like Sadiksha was saying about the like the societal standards and like just like parental standards. It just kind of puts more pressure on like the mental health of students as they're like more like focused on like doing good instead of like focusing on their mental health as well.
I've also seen and noticed that most of my friends and like our peers around us have most of our conversations have been around school, and that's just how I can tell that like all we've been thinking about and all the pressure has been on school for like these past few years, is that's all we've been focusing on.
Great. Yeah, I agree. So what do you think is contributing to the increase? I mean, we're seeing, the things that you're describing, I think, probably have been going on for a good amount of time, but we're seeing like a spiked increase in that. Do you have any thoughts about why teenagers may be having more of an issue now than they have in the past?
I think a huge role that plays in the 20th century for teenagers facing these mental health disorders is social media, especially coming from beauty standards and social media and how we're supposed to act in the constant trends that keep coming up on social media. And honestly, just surrounding around technology throughout our daily lives can just really impact your mental health and also like stem a feeling of loneliness, as like a lot of people aren't trying to make in real life friendships anymore. It's basically all online. And by doing that, people aren't communicating or sharing their thoughts and ideas and how they're feeling and just keeping it all bottled up inside.
I think like another one, like she was saying, is social media, but I think another standard is just kind of like the area that we're living in right now. I feel like everyone is just so overachieving, which is like a good thing, but it's also like, it kind of like you feel pressured to do good and like live to those standards as well, because like if everyone around you is doing good, you like feel the need to do good, so you put more pressure on yourself, even if it's like not from like external forces that are doing it. It's like mostly like internal, like you're just holding yourself to a higher standard.
I also think that coming back from COVID, where we've all been like alone and we've just been doing things on our own, we've lost like communication things where we can't talk to specific people, or we feel like we're not close to them anymore, so we can't say the things that we used to say. So just coming back from COVID and being in person again has definitely made like an impact on mental health.
And as well as the stigmatized taboo around having mental health disorders and like it's not as okay to talk about it as it should be, and people are still feeling embarrassed or like not really wanting to talk about that stigmatized topic, especially because of its place in media and how it's placed, and it's just something that we need to bring more awareness to.
I completely agree. As a matter of fact, that's a great segue into what I was going to mention to you. Back in September of 2023, I was invited to serve as the keynote speaker at a breakfast for an organization that's called Project Pink. So I spent my Saturday morning representing Texas Mental Health Resources, sharing about mental health with a wonderful group of around 50 students or so. And unless you all think that it was a great sacrifice for me, let me change the emphasis a bit. Think about this. There were around 50 teenagers who got up early and spent their Saturday morning listening to someone drone on about mental health. Is that incredible or what? Now, all three of these young ladies are heavily involved in the Project Pink movement, right? So tell us all what the Project Pink organization does and how you're involved personally in that.
Is this wonderful organization created by these high school students who really put their effort into bridging the gap between mental health as well as mental health in media. And specifically, they talk about mental health in women because it's a really stigmatized topic, and women's mental health, especially coming from several different standards placed on women specifically, they talk about that and try to bridge the gap between women's mental health and the accessibility of mental health resources for several people.
And then for us, for our chapter, we're not affiliated with Frisco ISD as of right now, but we hope to be in the future. So right now we're holding small support groups within our community so that everyone knows that they have someone to talk to and they're not like lonely. But we do hope to be more involved with Project Pink in the future.
Project Pink has brought up many different podcasts, blogs, and resources to not only bring awareness to mental health in women, but they're also trying to give people resources.
They also host several projects for young adults involved in this journey and the path of mental health and get them more aware of the issues that are arising, especially in the field of mental health.
Perfect. Yeah. So, that's great insight. And I tell you what, I was so impressed with that. I've got to tell you, I am grateful for the work that Project Pink is doing. Truly, to see teenagers that care so much about mental health is exciting to me. I've not met, honestly, a more energized, enthused, engaged group of young people with a solidarity of focus on making a difference in their homes and their families and their schools and their communities. These guys are so on fire to eliminate the stigma, like she was just talking about, the stigma that's there associated with mental illness. I came away from that morning with them with a new excitement about the future of this new generation and with many, many new ideas of ways to engage and to partner with them in changing the landscape of mental health. So I do want to thank you, ladies, for your commitment to that organization. I know that those who are listening are wondering, I want to know, what drives you personally to devote time to promoting mental health awareness among students? What is it that drives you to do that?
Something that drives me a lot and something that really makes me dedicated towards this topic is honestly facing it myself and dealing with the issues and seeing people within my community, my friends, constantly dealing with these issues and just seeing how large of an issue it is, as everyone I almost know has suffered with mental health, such as anxiety, depression. And since it's not talked about as much, these people aren't getting treated or aren't finding the help that they need to honestly succeed in the journey, and they're just seeing it as something that's wrong with themselves when it's not. It's an issue and it needs to be dealt with and talked about more often.
Yeah, like she was saying, I personally have seen it throughout my own family, including myself. I struggle with social anxiety, and I just see how stigmatized it is to find resources and just help your mental health. And I guess that just made me have the drive to bring more awareness to this issue.
Something that drives me is definitely different values that my specific family and my community have. I understand that every household have different values and priorities, and I know that in my household, education is definitely more prioritized than mental health and how you're feeling. So this has definitely been something that has impacted my motivation.
And as well as talking about families, we come from like an Indian background and Asian background, and in those backgrounds specifically, mental health isn't something that's talked about, and it isn't something that's known as real or something that's happening right now. And I know a lot of my peers who are Asian or Indian suffer with the fact that they can't openly express their issues and stuff that's been happening to them specifically.
Wonderful. Wow, that's great. Great insight about the difference in cultural backgrounds. There are a number of cultural backgrounds that really mental illness issues are really, really taboo, that you really don't discuss those. And so that makes it even more exciting and more important what you guys are doing and the work you're doing. So thank you so much. I'm sure that there are parents out there listening today, maybe even students who are struggling with mental health challenges. Just like you said, maybe you have yourself. If you could talk to parents, if you could talk to families of high school students, what advice do you think you might give them today? Advice that you might give them to get through, or what they need to be considering and thinking about?
I would say I feel like parents could just make sure that they make it clear to their kids that they know that they're there for them and they're open to having conversations and just there to help them.
And then, as well as going off of parents, it's honestly just important to empathize with your kids and the society that they're growing up in, because it is different from the society that our parents grew up in, especially with social media revolving and the constant pressures coming from several different aspects of our life. And honestly, it would just, a lot of things that would help with mental health for teenagers is just having your parents to talk to, or just someone to talk to get that help that they need.
Another thing is, I understand that parents are looking for for the best for their children and their futures, but also knowing that your child has an environment where they can come home to and they can talk to them, and knowing that the parents can also talk to their children about any mental health challenges that they're facing is just a great way to make sure that your children are comfortable.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, I'm older, and so my kids are adults. We tried when they were younger also to make it a safe environment for them to be able to talk, but they did not have near what you guys do to deal with. It's really true. And so I would suggest that as well, that the most important thing is being open, leaving an open avenue for discussion and conversation. And so parents, that y'all are hearing that straight from them. That's what you need to be caring about most, is making yourself available. Don't allow the stigma that society puts on mental illness to keep you from listening to your children and trying to get them help or understanding, or giving them advice about things that they're dealing with. So even if you don't understand it, I probably wouldn't understand everything that's going on, but at least try. At least have the conversation and allow them to tell you what's going on in their world. So that's really important. And now, if you ladies could have a moment to talk to all the students. Let's say you could talk to all the students at your school. There's an assembly, you're standing up on stage. Those of you who said you have social anxiety, maybe that's not what you want to do, but if you could, what would you tell them about their own mental health and how that they could help maybe their friends who might be struggling?
Honestly, the biggest thing that I would tell a lot of students is that you are not alone in this journey, and specifically, if you really just start talking about it with your peers, you realize that everyone suffers with something differently, whether it's mental health disorders or family issues or anything. Once you start opening up about it, these people will have a way to open up with you too. And by talking more about it, we can bring more awareness and know that these people aren't alone.
I agree. I would also just say that to make sure that you're always checking up on your friends, because you never know what's going on in their lives personally, in their home lives, and it's just checking up on them once a month is enough for them to be open with you and have a comfortable space to talk about their feelings.
I would definitely say a really important thing is talking about it, just because bottling things up ends up making things worse. And if everyone bottles everything up, then it just seems like it's an environment where you are judgmental and you can't say whatever you want to say. So by openly talking about it, other people feel the same way, that they can talk to you about their problem.
It's important to understand that, yes, school is important, but saving your mental health, or at least preserving your mental health and your own body and self, is more important than the grades that you're getting right now. And it's important to work hard and fix those in order to be a better person and just have a better life in the future.
Great point. Most of you who are listening probably know that my background is in higher education, And so I definitely believe in academics. I'm an academic person myself, but I want you to hear what these ladies are saying. While academics are important, they're not the most important thing. Most important thing is for you to listen to your kids and to try to help them through life. And so sometimes that involves difficult conversations. It involves conversations of things that you don't understand. And so talking through them together as a family, good grief, it is so important to you as a family to go through those things together. So thank you so much. That is great, great insight. Now, I know each school's different, but do you know of anything at your own school or in your community that might be a possible resource for help for any of the students who are struggling mentally?
I would say like a good thing that our school has at least, or like mostly all ISDs have, or like counselors. They're always there for you to like talk to if you're going through anything, and that's what they're there for, like to help you with like your school and like your mental health. And I think that's a really good resource that school has.
Our school, I know this isn't like specific to mental health, but it's definitely good that we have like a break. Is that we have something called Mega Lunch, where we basically have an hour to just eat lunch, or we can like catch up on schoolwork or talk to our friends. And we also have an open gym where we can just spend our time like playing basketball or volleyball. And I think this is a great way for us to just take a break off of our 8 hours of school the entire day. So I think that definitely helps.
Great. Yeah, that's great. There really are. If you look in your own communities, at your own schools, there are a lot of different resources that you could tap into for those. For you parents and you students who are listening today, we can't close out this discussion without telling you that there really is hope. If you're encountering struggles personally or in your family, I just can't emphasize enough the need to reach out, to speak to someone. I have some really helpful links on our website at txmhr.org/help. There's even a separate section for teens and their families with a link to the Texas Youth Helpline. That's all the time that we have here today, but I did want to point you to the website and those resources that we have. I did also promise you a big announcement. Texas Mental Health Resources has been searching for just the right social media coordinator who would be on fire about mental health, who would have their pulse on the needs of a large cross-section of our communities, including teenagers, who would have great social media skills. And guess what? Where we landed. I am so excited that these 3 young ladies, that Sudiksha, Meghana, I'm sorry, I mispronounce that every time. Meghana and Ria, all 3 have agreed to be TXMHR's new social media team. You guys are going to do such an amazing job. As we close out our time together, tell us why you've decided to serve at our organization, and tell us what you hope to contribute to it.
This is such a wonderful opportunity, and what Texas Mental Health Resources is doing for the community is really important, and it's a really step into the future. And honestly, why I thought it was important to take this role and just advocate this idea is that it's something, again, that I've struggled with, and obviously I would like to know that people like me and like myself to know that they aren't alone, and there are people and people like them to relate to and to talk about these issues with.
Like Sudiksha was saying, this is a really great opportunity, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. And I guess like I want to contribute to Texas Mental Health Resources as like just to make sure that like to help bring awareness about this issue, and like I feel like being a part of this would help me have a bigger scope to like bring this awareness.
I think all of our main intention in this is to bring it to a broader audience. I feel like by promoting it and making it more available to people at our school and other clubs near us, we'll be able to show people that they have something that they're open to being involved in.
Great. Well, I don't know about you guys who are listening, but I am so excited to have this level of teenagers helping us with our mental health emphases, and there's no telling where it's going to go from here. Thank you to our guests today, and thank you to all of you who joined us for A Mental Moment. Be sure to follow or subscribe to our podcast to hear about our new episodes as they're released. And until next time, you are loved and you matter.